Okay, so I am starting with EX4. I'm going to go through how you can organize your layers in order to make sure that all of your line work is in one file, not separate drawings, and you should not be drawing in paper space or anything like that. So the first thing I did in order to prepare for this assignment was I went into the layer properties box. And you can do that by typing in layer or in the command bar, or you can push the button up here. I made a layer for each of the potential line work that you're going to have. So when you do cut, you're going to have your major and your minor contours for that. When you have your fill, you're going to have major and minor for that as well, and balanced, so on. So total, you would have 6 layers just for your contours for this assignment. And I will show you how you're going to organize those, as well as how to turn them on and off for when you export. So you've been provided the plan. I made these 6 layers that I just explained. So L grade, and then their proposed, and your minor and your major. So your firsts, your single, and your fifths for balance, cut, and fill for all of those, and assigned their correct colors and everything that I thought was best. And then after that, I drew a handful of lines on each of those layers. So this one's on proposed fill, this one's on proposed cut. So there's a couple of them on each of them. You can go about turning on and off layers or freezing and thawing them in a billion different ways. You can do it from your layers properties box. You go about doing it this way. You can freeze them, or you can turn them off. Either way, it stops displaying them. Turning them off just changes their visibility, I believe, and then your freezing and thawing physically like shuts them off to where, like, when you do a grab window, it can't grab anything, even if it's even if you have line work there. I believe with the light bulb turned off, you can still accidentally delete. If you do like a Control A and select everything and push delete, it can still delete things whenever the light bulb's turned off. So I'm going to go about freezing. You can also do it up here with these buttons. You can push this button, click something, it freezes it. So what I've got left is proposed cut and proposed cut, fifth, right? So what you'll go and do is you start with your cut. You'll draw your contours accordingly. I just did random ones, random lines to, show, for example. Obviously your contours won't look like this. But so here's some that are drawn on cut, and then you'll go about turning off the cut ones when you're done, and you're going to move on to fill. So you're going to turn on your fill ones, thaw them. And you can also do that with this button. It'll unthaw everything. This is more like strategic thawing. So now you've got all your fill ones in here. And then after that, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go, okay, so I'm going to freeze everything except balanced. So all my contours for balanced are in here. And then afterwards, so if I thaw all of the layers, you'll see they're still in here. You're turning them on and off, right? So after you've drawn everything and put them on their proposed contour layers that are identified with each of them, you turn them on and off as you need them so that they're in and out of the way as you're drawing the next series. Once you've completed all your contour work, also, it's probably easiest to put your tick marks on the layer with that contour, just for ease, just because that would add an extra 3 layers potentially to your layer property. You're welcome to add 3 layers for the tick marks, but you can also just put them in with the contours for this one. So then we're going to move on to our paper spaces. These have been labeled accordingly and set up nicely for you. So if you notice, all of your current layers are showing and turned on. This is where you're going to go into your layers properties box, and you're going to verify that viewport freeze is a column inside of here. This should be within your paper space. You should be able to see this. If you can't, you right click in the gray bar anywhere in there and make sure that VP freeze is on. And that'll give you this column. So a lot of people get this mixed up when they're freezing and thawing things, and sometimes accidentally turn things on and off. And they don't plot after that point. If they do that, the same thing with no plot. Some people accidentally do that, so be very careful with what you're selecting. And if something doesn't print, these are some good things to check out in your layers properties. So this allows you to freeze and thaw things solely for when you're viewing them through a viewport. So if you double click into your viewport, I'm going to go ahead and lock it down here in the bottom right, so that I can't pan around inside of it and it stays to scale. So that when I zoom in, this is cut, so I need to keep all of my cut layers, which I think I drew somewhere over here. So I'm going to do inside the viewport, I'm going to do my freeze command and click on the layers that, be sure it's those. So that's cut, and this is also cut. So now I'm visibly only showing my cut layers in here, and if I select the viewport, it should show, or not. Normally it will show in here when you select the viewport. Oh, it's when you double click in, I'm sorry. So if you select the viewport, double click in, you can also select and right click, and you can do like a maximize viewport, and you can go in and view it where it like takes up your whole screen and things like that. The easiest way is just to double click in. And then you'll notice these show as frozen. But outside of it, they're not frozen. Any of them are frozen. And if I go to my model space, they still all exist and they're showing. And then I'm gonna do that for fill as well. If I go to my fill plan, double click in, I'm gonna lock it so I don't mess it up. And double click in, and I'm gonna kill everything except fill. Oops, I got the existing instead. So now I've turned off all of the layers that don't have fill contours. And if I select these, you'll see the ones that are left over are the ones I put on the fill layers. And so that's all that's showing. And even though they're frozen in this viewport, if I go into cut, you can still see just the cut ones. And if I go to model space, you can still see all of them. So balance, same thing, double click in, and you can click it here. You can also freeze them individually, and you'll watch them freeze over here. And you can unfreeze them the same way. So for this one, you'll need balance. So you'll turn off everything but the balanced proposed contours. And this allows you to, and then to get out of viewports, if you don't already know, double click outside in the paper space. If you happen to be zoomed so far in that you cannot see paper space whenever you're, when you're clicked into your viewport, so now it looks like I'm stuck in model space, you can type in PS for paper space, and that will let you out. Oh, it also wasn't locked, so it unscaled it. So make sure you lock these whenever you get into them. So I'm gonna do Control-Z a couple times. So double clicking in, locking, and if you get trapped in for whatever reason, then PS gets you out. Also, these are 11 by 17, so you can use your provided 11 by 17 template from your last assignment for the layout of your title blocks. And there's currently a dynamic block for a scale in here. Don't get used to that. After a while, you're going to be needing to put in your own scale and get used to doing that on your own. But this one is provided for you. And this should have you pretty confident and ready to go in terms of how you can organize your layers and how you're going to plot these.